Hey, profs. Welcome on in. My name's Rob Lightfoot, proud two-time alum of Rick Edelman College of Communication, class of 2000-2001. This is Beyond the Brown and Gold.
I'm Jessica Kennedy. I'm the co-host here, also a two-time proud Rowan alum, class of 2008 from the Rick Edelman College of Communication and Creative Arts, and 2015 from the College of Education. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kennedy.
This year we did something really exciting to celebrate our prof sweethearts. Rob.
What do we do?
You don't remember?
No, I do remember, actually. I'm just joking with you.
So we did a really wonderful contest to hear the love stories of our prof sweethearts, and we put it out on the alumni website and via email and on social media, and we asked for your stories. We wanted to know about all of our alums who met here and who have been sweethearts because of their time here at Glassboro State or Rowan.
And there were we received a ton.
So many stories. We were overwhelmed with the responses. And we thought, wouldn't it be really great if we could invite them onto the show and have them share their stories in their own words? Tune in now for the prof sweetheart story of Katie Henko Stys, 2008, and Scott Stys. Some of the most romantic relationships begin as friendships. After Scott left Rowan to join the Marines, these friends bumped into each other and knew something felt different this time. Take us back to your time at Rowan. What year was it? What were you studying? How did you get here? And how did you find each other?
They're already giggling, by the way.
I know, it's so cute.
Well, Scott has a really interesting story about his experience at Rowan.
Oh, boy.
Do you want me to start?
This was not in the submission form.
We graduated high school in what?
2004.
2004. So our first year at Rowan was like 2004, 2005. We actually didn't meet until our sophomore year. And it was totally by chance. So I was a health and exercise science major, thought I was going to be a phys ed teacher. I wanted to initially be a guidance counselor. And I know in the state of New Jersey, like you had to be a teacher first. And I was like, oh, well, I'm interested in health and like maybe I'd be a health teacher. So I took that direction. I was pretty focused in school.
I was good when I went. I got good grades when I went there. You know, I was good at school. College just was never for me. You know, I was there to play football and I enjoyed that. And I went to class for the first 2 years. But once my brother and I decided we were leaving for the service, school kind of went on the back burner. But
and I would try and like entice him. So like after we first met, like there were times where I'd be like, hey, like I know you have class at this time. Do you want to walk with me to class?
Do you want to go?
And he would.
Do you want to go to class?
He would walk with me to class. And then all of a sudden, like, I'd be like opening the door and he'd be walking the other direction. I'm like, no, like that wasn't what I meant. I was trying to get you to class.
So how did you meet? What was the instance in which you met each other?
My room faced out the front of Triad. And my roommate was like, Katie, there's these twins. They live on our floor. Come look, they're out the window. And I saw Scott and his brother, Brad, walking up to the building and they were like in their football uniforms and looked all cute. And I'm like, oh, and I was like, oh, I called dibs on that one, like totally joking around, which is, I find pretty ironic because Scott and his brother are identical. So why I like called dibs on one still to this day, I don't
You're
understand.
keeping your options open, right?
Especially since you didn't really know anything about them other than you just saw them out the window.
I knew nothing. So then I'm going to say my roommate probably like invited them over one day. Like beyond me joking, there was really no, like, I had no intentions of following through and being like, really, I called dibs on this one. And then we just started hanging out like as friends.
Tell us what happened after Scott decided he would just not go to class anymore.
we had already signed the papers to join the Marine Corps. And, you know, I just, at that point, class wasn't important to me. It was me getting ready to, you know, go off and serve. So I mean, like I said, I was good at school. I still am. When I went, I got good grades. It's just that last semester, I knew I wasn't going to be there anymore. So I was kind of just hung out and hung out with Katie.
Now, Scott, what was
your very expensive party? That's what we call it. The most expensive party you could ever have.
For sure.
What was your major that you were going to go for?
I was undeclared at the time.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at that point.
Were you dating Katie when you guys were hanging out? Were you like actually dating? Were you a couple or just hanging out?
No, we were just friends at that time. I was dating another girl. She was had a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. We were just friends for the longest time.
I actually have a funny story about that I can share.
Yes, please do.
So we were friends and like legitimately like pretty good friends too. And I remember he was telling me, he's like, this is what I got the girl that I'm dating for Christmas. Well, in the meantime, he had kind of started seeing like another girl too.
Right,
and he got them the same thing. And I was like, you can't do that. I'm like, listen, it's bad as it is, but like, you have to at least get them something different, because if you get them the same thing, then they're going to know it came from you. Like, that's how good of friends we were. Like, we would talk about that. I would share with him, like, things about my boyfriend or like what was going on.
Were you a little bit interested in each other at that time? Or like, was it like, no, we're real. It's like, we really were friends.
Yeah, it was always there.
Yeah. There was always like that little level of flirtation, but like it like never went beyond that because we were just both in different directions.
Any red flags that he was dating two girls at the same time?
Looking back, it's kind of like when you see those memes like with the red flags, probably should have paid a little bit of attention to that. No, I'm just joking. But so I graduated in 2008. I came back home to South Jersey. I actually started as a teacher for a little while. During that time, I was still, in another relationship. I ended up ending that relationship shortly after I graduated. And then he happened to be coming back from a training and was like, oh, hey, like, I haven't seen you in a few years. I can swing through. I'm on my way somewhere. And I was like, all right, yeah, awesome. I was actually trying to set him up with my best friend.
Oh my gosh, you really were like so focused on being the friends that you were.
Yeah. So like he came down, my best friend was with me. And like I had full intentions of being like, hey, Scott, meet Crystal. Hey, Crystal, meet Scott. And I think like she even says she could tell at that point, like as soon as we started talking, she was just like, oh no, like she didn't even like move into that space, because once we did see each other again and we both were not in relationships, it definitely was just different at that point.
I love how Crystal may have seen it clearer before anybody else did. She's like, no, I see what's going on here. I'm not getting in on that. So had you kept in touch the whole time that you were serving?
Yeah, I mean, I would write her when I was in boot camp and overseas, and when I was able to use the phone, which was few and far between. Yeah, we still stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, there's so much there then.
I know. You just don't write anybody, right?
Yeah. You're not just writing some schmo.
So did you come back after that? When you came home from the training, were you committed to serve for a long period of time? Like, what did that look like?
So when I signed up, I signed a 4-year contract. So the time that when I came down to visit her was in between deployments. I was already in Iraq for 7 months. And then we were doing our workup for our next deployment to Afghanistan. And we were training in California for a month. And then maybe a month before I deployed to Afghanistan is when I came down to visit her. And then at that point, I still had another 1.5 years left after that. So,
which in retrospect, like, I guess I never really thought about the timing before. Like, it really only took a month for us to get into like a deep relationship. And I think that's because we had built it on such a strong friendship foundation. Like when he left for Afghanistan, like I went down and saw him off and did all that. And
she almost died the night before.
Let's hear the story.
Yeah, I mean,
really? The night before he left for Afghanistan. We went to Applebee's and I have a nut allergy. And I don't know, I thought mozzarella sticks were a safe choice. Well, apparently they use a fryer for something else. So yes, in the parking lot, him and his brother are like ripping into Benadryl packets for me. But
oh my gosh. And here we thought that Scott was the one going into a dangerous situation. And really it was Applebee's.
we were in a relationship at that point. So then when he left for Afghanistan, how long were you there?
6 months. We got pulled home a month early.
Yeah, he was supposed to be there longer. But it was about 6 months. And the whole time, like, we really didn't have a whole lot of communication.
We had one phone for our entire company, which was 4 platoons. And
One phone?
It was a satellite phone. So we were living in the dirt. We were showering in creeks and stuff that were there. We were out on the front line. So we weren't on a main base where we had a computer, we could play video games. We were out actually doing the work of the Marines. So we only had one phone for our entire company. So 1 week out of that month, you would get the satellite phone, and then you have 30 guys trying to use the same phone in a week. I got maybe 3 calls a month back home. And then if something bad happened where we lost somebody, there was a blackout period where you weren't able to call anybody until the family was notified. So it was a long time. We would go periods without talking to each other.
Yeah, so a lot of it was literally like writing to each other. Like you think like back in like World War II and stuff,
Romantic.
but like that was our situation. And I actually have a book where it's kind of cool to see like the letter I sent him and then the letter in response. We both kept the letters. Like not
Jess is going to cry over here.
know.
Jess is about to cry over here. I can see it.
Welling
As soon as I heard the story, I was like, this is Jess. Now, did you get married as soon as you got back? Did we just like close that loop right away?
We got engaged maybe 3 months after I got back. So at this point, I only had maybe 7 months left on my contract until I was getting out. So we didn't get married until a year after I had already gotten out, almost a year to the day after I had gotten out.
Yeah, so we were engaged pretty soon after he got back, but then we took like a good year between like, there was a lot going on, like him coming back from North Carolina, planning a wedding, figuring all of that life stuff out.
Living with Crystal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, Crystal, the friend that I tried to set him up with, I was living with her when he was still in the Marines. So he came back, and instead of like going home, at that point we were engaged.
I showed up with like trash bags full of my clothes and everything.
No. Crystal's like, oh boy, I gotta
suitcases.
get out of here. This Prof Sweethearts interview is between Kari Palmieri Janisse, class of 2004, and Philip Janisse, 2004. Find out now how their involvement with the Newman Club served as the start of their now 17-year marriage. And Kari, I don't think I knew that you were a Prof Sweetheart, but take us back to your time at Rowan. Set the stage for us. What was really going on? And Kari, you submitted the story, so I don't know if you want to take the lead, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, hello, I'm Kari Janisse, and I was Palmieri when I was at Rowan. Originally from North Jersey, from Bloomfield, and I applied to Rowan University the senior year of high school. And that application process of colleges was super easy for me because I got in early to Rowan, and that was my one school I applied to, and boom, it just decided everything for me. And I'm super grateful looking back at that process for myself and to God, really, because like everything hinged on that decision of going to Rowan, where I live now, where I work now, who I married. All of those decisions really happened at Rowan during those 4 years. So I entered in 2000 as a bachelor, majoring in art with a concentration in graphic design. So I graduated with a BFA. My husband, Phil, what year did you enter college?
This college or college?
Yeah, Phil, how did you get to Rowan?
I initially started out at St. Peter's up in Jersey City. And after 1 year, we both mutually parted ways. And then I went to Burlington County College for like a semester or maybe 2. And the goal was I was just going to because I lived right up by the Air Force Base. So I was just going to go, I wanted to transfer into College of New Jersey. So I applied to College of New Jersey and I applied to Rowan. College of New Jersey told me I wasn't good enough to get in there. And Rowan said, "You're welcome to come down here." And I told Rowan, "I don't feel like going to your school."
You did.
So I didn't go anywhere. So I took a whole year off. And then it became pretty apparent that I better get a college education. So then I called Rowan. I ate some crow, and I was like, "Hey, how good are these acceptance
I've always
scores?"
wanted to come to Glassboro. It's funny you should say.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh no, you're good for like another 6 months." Like, "I will mark me in." And I was living out on my own at that time. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm moving to Glassboro now. So packed all my stuff up, entered Rowan, I think in 2001.
Yeah.
And haven't left the region since then. I've been, I went from Glassboro to Williamstown. So.
Yeah.
And Kari, how were you introduced to him? How did you two find each other?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question. Yeah, so it wasn't until 2003 that we actually found each other. So, as time was going on, Phil was majoring in law and justice. I was majoring in art, two completely different departments, two completely different ends of campus. Well, not totally different, but definitely different buildings that our classes were in. So it wasn't exactly on the campus itself, but it was just off campus that our worlds collided, which was at the Newman House, which was at the time the current ROTC building, which is on the end of campus.
Or near Beau Rivage for folks that are trying to picture where the campus is. Yeah.
Exactly. And it used to be a Wawa right there, but now it's the bagel store, Bagel Express, that's there. So it's that blue building right there. And we were both heading on the same retreat weekend with our college, the Newman Club at the time it was called, now called Rowan Catholic Campus Ministry. And we were attending this retreat together. It was the spring semester retreat held in February, and it was being held off campus at a retreat house out in Elverson, Pennsylvania. And we both entered the building, waiting to leave for the retreat. And I saw these two new faces. It was Phil and his friend. And I introduced myself because I was on the e-board and was involved. And I said, "Oh, you must be Phil and Mike. Nice to meet you." And that was when we first met, was that weekend. Away at the retreat. And, it was a great retreat. I mean, from what I remember of it, was a wonderful time. And, I don't remember us, talking too much or interacting too much, but our initially meeting each other took place on that retreat.
But did you get all the feels when you saw Phil? Like you knocked over by the guy, or what was going on here?
Everybody gets the feels.
I figured Phil, I could tell. They get the feels.
You got the feels.
Look, I'm over here. I'm not saying nothing.
Didn't you say something that you thought I was cute? I don't know.
Yeah, when she came into the building, I was like, oh, she's kind of cute.
You're like, right. Oh, wow.
Mental check.
Yeah, first retreat. Was this your first involvement, Phil, in the Newman Club at all?
No, it was actually my second. She didn't go to the first one I went on.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I wasn't able to make the one that he was on in the fall, but you weren't really involved in the club because you had worked and you were taking classes, and we weren't really we didn't meet until that actual retreat in the spring semester.
So for students who are listening, it's really the campus ministry is where you're going to meet your significant other. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of them that came out of there.
Yeah, and still do. I don't know if you want me to go into any of that just now yet, but I'll wait for you to share about that. But there definitely are many couples that have come from our generation and generations to come from the campus ministry, from the Newman House, and from retreats especially. Is a great bonding weekend together. But then the whole next year is when really our relationship took place and started, and we were both seniors now at Rowan, and we're dating, and really.
Well, how we can't go from you just went to a retreat to you started dating? How does that even? It's like, well, right, we just met each other, then we were dating. Okay, do tell.
All right, so there's a key story in there that I had hurt myself goofing off, dancing with friends, and Phil had found out about it. All of my friends took me to Jefferson Hospital. I had a sprained ankle. He found out about it from the friends, and he made the move and sent a card to hand-delivered a card and flowers to my house and my favorite dessert from Scotland Run, because that's where you worked. And he said, if you need anything, please let me know. And I couldn't drive because it was my right foot, and I couldn't really walk much because of crutches and all this. So he took me to that was like May of that 2003, right after the retreat, that same spring semester. And he took me to my finals. He took me to different ministry meetings I wanted to attend, to church. And we really got to really fall in love during that point. And that's when the relationship started, which was that end of the semester of our junior year in 2003. So there's the love story. He made his move with the ankle, and here we are today.
Took advantage of the girl while she was down. Kari, Phil, what was it about Kari?
Me.
Hey.
So,
wow. Now that's the story we really want out there. That's going to sell this podcast.
You can resist.
Yeah, now that'll sell the podcast.
Way in there.
What was it about Kari that you were like, oh, okay, I'm going to send flowers? Were you making your move? Were you hopeful to start?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is it. Look, it was a long con. I knew how to play this game. I was like, I could wear her down months over months over months. And then when she doesn't see it coming, boom.
Wow. I mean, flowers and
like
dessert.
strike. And then eventually she's just going to be around me so much. She's like, I can't imagine not hanging out with this guy forever.
Well, there was a brief break.
Oh, there was a break. There's always a break.
Yeah, there's the break. And that's when I think we both imagined that was after that break. Yeah.
Well, some people had to hit the brakes.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how we're not saying.
Some people. We're not being accusatory at all.
Yeah. So we dated all of senior year, both graduated in 2004. And at that time, then I was moving back to North Jersey because I was going to work in the field of graphic design that I got my degree in. And I was going to be working in New York City. Phil was staying in South Jersey area where he had been living in Glassboro at the time. And then eventually you moved a little bit around with some friends. And it was a 2-hour distance in between this relationship that I was like super concerned about. And I was trying to put on pressure to get married. And, that definitely the brakes needed to be pumped at that time because we both weren't sure where we were at in life with careers and living situations. But we took a brief break after college then for a little bit. It was just 2 months, but it was needed to kind of reset the relationship. And then kind of came back together, I would say, a whole lot stronger to enter into that mindset. Like, are we called to marriage? And is it between each other forever? And during that time was a big time for each of us to really think that through, that question. And obviously we both sought the answer was yes. And we 2 years later then got engaged in 2006.
I think the main part, we had to work out a lot of stuff in those two, like where we were going to live, how we were going to, because I was never, ever, ever going to move to North Jersey.
Go ahead, Phil. Talk about that, Phil. Let's talk about that piece.
I don't want to go past Trenton.
Thank you.
Ever.
Thank you.
Wow, strong feeling.
And if I could go further south, I would, but this is as far as she's allowing me to go.
I'm a Jersey girl. I had a hard time switching from North Jersey to South Jersey. I will say the one thing that helped prepare me to be able to leave and move 2 hours south of all of my family, my aunts, my uncles, everybody was concentrated up there, grandparents, parents. The one thing that helped so much was that we had so many friends from our core group of particularly the Newman House where we were both involved, campus ministry, that had just recently got married or were engaged, and they were all settling in the South Jersey area. And we're like, okay, we have all of our friends here. We have Father Maz was the chaplain at the time of the Newman House. He was assigned to St. Bridget's in Glassboro. So we knew we had a church with the priest that we were very close to that we could attend. So everything was kind of set right here for us. So I was like, well, it's a matter of me leaving my family, but still having a second family that is already there. So we were able to make that decision, after I was able to bend a little bit. And I think, for Phil, he has no family in South Jersey either. It's not like he was rooted here. He grew up as a military child and moved all over. So his family wasn't even presently in New Jersey either. So it was kind of a fresh start for both of us to kind of root ourselves like on our own, which tended to be for us where we found the house was Williamstown and where we've been living since we were married.
So was the whole wedding party nothing but profs? Is that what it was? The entire wedding party on both sides?
Profs and Paul Marys, all of my cousins.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. So it was definitely a lot of Rowan friends, a good amount from that campus ministry that were involved, or they read at our wedding, or they were handing out the programs at our wedding. We actually, really fun thing about our wedding, for table numbers, we did like things about our life. So they were where we grew up. They were Rowan University was the name of one of the tables. Newman House was one of the name of the tables. And
I don't know why it's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Phil, were you there?
I have the DVDs. We don't watch them, but we have them.
And you paid for them too.
This is a detail-oriented person. He let me handle all the details, and this is probably why. But so Rowan and Newman House were two of the table numbers, and those people from those respective places, from students of Rowan, or were the ones that sat at the tables. The guy that played the music at our wedding and sang at our wedding, they were Rowan students, Rowan grads at that time. Father Maz married us.
You got ready at the Newman House?
Yes. Yep, you're right. Yeah,
married at St. Bridget's, which is now Rowan University Parish.
So all these things kind of relate back, which is, for me, especially now, I work now here at the Newman House. that's on campus as of last year of 2022 in August. And so being back here has been like full circle for me, because it's the church I was married in, which at the time, it's really, looking back, really crazy to think the Newman House was not connected to St. Bridget University Parish at the time. The students had no connection to that church. The Newman House had mass there and everything there, but now it's all connected as one. So like our students that come to campus ministry here will attend mass at St. Bridget's. That's where I was married. That's where, all these important things took place early on in our marriage, attending mass there. And now we're in a full circle 17 years later, that being working here and working with the students, it's like a full circle for me, which has been pretty amazing to see happen.
Got to ask, were the pictures for the wedding on campus? Did we do a little bunch shot? Did we do any of that?
No.
No, and you know why?
Missed
Remember why, Phil?
opportunity.
Probably because of me.
No. Not
Who are we
because
blaming for this?
The limo driver was supposed to stop. I still regret it.
It's always the limo driver.
I had it in my notes to stop it. At the time, the only one was that big, like, kind of cement where Rowan is carved into it. Like it says Rowan University. It's like on a big, long cement sign. There are a couple throughout campus. There was one right on 322. And I asked him to stop, and he did not. And I was so mad because I wanted that. So I have pictures of myself getting ready at the Newman House. I have pictures here, but I do not have any from on campus, and I regret it so much.
Well, if I could suggest something, because we're in our centennial year, Bunce Green now has the big 100 in between the pillars, and I think it's the coolest look that you can grab. So if you can get it before, like maybe springtime or something like that, and then maybe Phil, like, surprise her. You come out on stilts for once.
Eric Avedissian, class of 1992, and Elnie Boyer Avedissian met in 1991. They, at the time, had a short-lived college romance. 19 years later, the two reconnected through Facebook and have been together ever since. Take us back to your time here at Rowan. What was the year? Where were you each coming from?
I attended Rowan. It was 1991. Back in the halcyon days of 1991, when grunge music was popular.
Yes.
And George Bush was president, not the second one, but the first one. Back when we just won the Gulf War.
Look at I like all the historical
I like what he's putting. Yeah, he's putting us back in that time.
Love it.
I was a fresh-faced college student majoring in communications and journalism. And we met because I had a friend who went here too. And we met through that friend. So she was staying in a dorm, and I visited, and that's when I met Elnie for the first time.
Elnie, was it love at first sight?
Yeah, something like that. Like she was.
Yeah, I had a crush on him. I thought he was cute.
Now you were a student as well, right? You weren't.
Yeah, I was a freshman, and he was a senior when we met.
Yeah.
And what were you both studying while you were? Well, you were journalism, you said, right? And Elnie, what were you doing?
I was in accounting, business administration.
So if it wasn't for this party, then you probably wouldn't have met, right?
Yeah, never.
Nope.
Supposedly, I don't remember this, but I asked him to be my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Well, you
she
don't
just jumped
remember?
right in. She just jumped, didn't, can you be my boyfriend? I said, okay, sure.
Oh my God.
Oh, I will.
Wait, so how long had you known each other for?
A couple weeks, maybe.
Couple weeks.
Less than I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of these puppy love situations you got here, right? Yeah. So,
And had you been hanging out in that time, or was it just like, okay.
We hung out, yeah.
Where were you going across campus? Are you going across campus at different,
Yeah, he was in Triad and I was in Magnolia.
Okay.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, so we would just meet at the student
center.
Student center.
Go out on dates and things like that, like what the young people do.
And how was it? Were you together for a long time while you were here, or just a short period of time that you dated?
Almost 2 months only.
Almost 2 months, yeah.
All right. And how did that end?
We talked about it. I was a freshman. He was a senior. And we were like, this is not going to work because, he's going to be leaving soon. And we were friends before we started going out.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big difference, senior and freshman, right?
Yeah, especially.
So we said, okay, let's just be friends.
Yeah, I really crushed her.
Broke my heart.
I broke her heart. Yeah.
But I was like, I'd rather be his friend than lose him, altogether. So
Right.
we remained friends.
Yeah.
And then he left college. And I think you came back for undergraduate.
I did some education studies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then 1992, I was in a car accident and I left college completely.
Oh my.
And what year were you in when you left?
1992.
Okay.
I was December 92 when I had my car accident.
And that was your sophomore year?
Yeah, my sophomore year. And I had a fractured pelvic. I had a concussion, coma for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
So I just didn't come back to school.
And Eric, what did you pursue when you left? Well, it was then Glassboro State. Yeah.
Still.
So what did you pursue when you left Glassboro State?
Yeah. So I got suckered into the world of journalism and became a reporter for several years down in the Cape May, Atlantic County area.
Very nice.
I did that for many years, got some journalism awards, moved around a little bit. And then I was working in Ocean City when I was contacted in 2010.
That's a big leap. Elnie, what were you doing all that time?
Yeah.
18 years. I contacted him on Facebook, July 5th, 2010.
She remembers the date.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I had just gotten on Facebook and I was kind of friends. I only had family members and some coworkers. I always remembered him. He was my first love.
Way to go, Eric.
Yeah.
Yes, you can use social media to stalk your exes.
I looked up a lot of stuff on him when I found out, he was on. And I contacted him on July 5th, and then July 27th, we met up.
Were you nervous? Were you all nervous to meet after all this time?
Was anybody in a relationship at that time, or nobody or out of it? Or
no, I wasn't.
Okay.
No. But so that was a fun date.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, we went to a bookstore.
Yeah,
and we talked.
Which bookstore? Ours? Like on campus?
No, this was a bookstore.
Mace Landing.
Mace Landing, yeah.
Okay.
But we didn't know until 2010, but in August of 2007, he moved to Ocean City on 10th Street. September the next month, I moved to 8th Street.
Whoa.
He worked on 8th Street.
Wow.
But we didn't know that.
Yeah. We were
until 2010.
We were like two ships that passed in the night.
How wild is that? You were so close. Yeah. Probably as close as you were when you were on campus. So you had been 2 years living right around the corner from each other? Was it 2 years before you even...
What happened was Ocean City gets flooded all the time. So after living there for 6 to 8 months, I decided to leave because I just hate the flooding. And it would take me an hour to get home sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And so 20, 30 minutes because in Ocean City, you had to keep getting turned around because of the flood. Certain areas are flooded. So I had to keep backtracking. So I said, I'm not living in Ocean City. So I moved away to Mace Landing. At least 20 minutes away from there.
Yeah.
So you're doing journalism at the time. And how about you? What were you doing for a career at the time?
Well, I ended up becoming a CNA, nursing assistant.
Okay.
I did it 20 years and now I'm working in, I have almost 3 jobs now. A CNA, unit secretary for my job. And I'm also training to become a monitor tech. It's where we watch EKGs and the rhythms and stuff like that.
Oh, it's like, you go to college, right?
I'm becoming a CPA. I said I became a CNA instead.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
A letter. That's okay. They do the same things.
I feel like in college, sometimes you go in and you don't really realize all the jobs that there are in the world and all the different kinds of things you can do. Like you think a little bit more like
you get exposed to different things.
Yeah,
so
you're like, I like
change.
this. I want to do this. So what was it like after you met up at the bookstore? Did you just kind of keep talking after that, or there was a little lull in between when you saw each other next?
No, we dated.
Jumped right into
the relationship.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think 2 years later she moved in.
Mm-hmm. And then we had Sandy happen.
Yeah, and then Hurricane Sandy happened, flooded us out.
June, and by the end of August, was it October, November?
October, yeah.
Yeah, there was Sandy, and we got relocated because of that.
Yeah, it's not good to have all your stuff flooded in an apartment. So
No.
it's higher ground. Yeah.
So after moving out of Ocean City because of the flooding, I moved back in just to have Sandy happen.
Yeah.
You were getting assigned before not to be near water. I don't know why you went.
I know that's one of the downsides of living near the beach, I guess, right?
Yeah, you gotta watch
near
that.
all that water. What are you hoping to tell folks that maybe meet on campus their freshman year? I mean, freshman year, that's like you had a lot of time left to go, Elnie, and then you were kind of on your way out, Eric. So you have any advice for our young prof sweethearts who might be listening?
Yeah, like don't give up on love, be patient with each other, try to take your time, try to be open and listen to each other. And, just because you broke up, you can get back together again. It's just weird. Love is weird.
So far, we've heard so many great prof sweetheart stories, but we have more.
There's almost too much love that we can squeeze into one episode.
I know. We had to squeeze it into 2. So tune in to our next episode of Prof Sweetheart Stories.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.